All right, all aboard. Let's talk about client onboarding and setting expectations. Setting expectations is something that you do actually when you send the contract or the proposal, whichever one you send first, or even in the consultation. You set what the tone will be for the relationship throughout the planning period. So one of the things that we do is we set up a welcome meeting with our clients after we get them onboarded. Onboarding is their contract and they've paid their retainer. We talked about that a little bit. There are inside of our welcome letter, and this will be linked, of course, with the a couple of other documents that I want you guys to have throughout this particular lesson. But the welcome letter literally tells them how we will work together. It has on there our office hours. It has who their event manager will be it myself or one of my lead planners. It also has on there what our meetings will look like, what our definition of a marathon meeting is, which we will talk about a little bit later in another lesson. And it talks about just a plethora of different things about missing meetings, how that will affect them. And we actually go over the contract in detail, or some of those moments that we think are some of those spaces in the contract that we think are important for the client to actually look at and dive a little bit deeper. Because we do know people will sign a contract and not read it all the way through. So again, that welcome meeting is a time where we thoroughly go through those things. So again, the expectations are set for what the planning period will look like. Okay, let's dive a little bit deeper into what we do for our welcome meeting. A little tongue twister there. One of the things that we like to do is to actually have it on site at the venue if the client is available and if the venue, of course, is available. The reason that I like to have it at the actual venue is because it allows us a time to sit down, hear their vision, walk through the actual venue themselves, but then also talk about all of those things that we have moving forward throughout the planning process. Again, as I stated, we will talk about our office hours, best ways to communicate, be it via email, be it text, whatever again works for you is fine. But we talk about that. And again, this is a document that has all of that in there. It also talks about payment schedules that are listed out again in the contract. We go through not line by line item of the contract, but again, as we have stated, some people don't really read through it. So those hot points, it gives you that time right in front of the client to be able to talk through those things. We also talk about who will be assigned and working on the project in our particular from our particular team. So it just helps with them knowing how we will move this train forward. So welcome meetings are really, really important. If they're not able to do it at the venue, a Zoom call or a virtual meeting is just fine. Just make sure that they do allot maybe about an hour, hour and a half if you're doing it virtually to be able to do that. But if you're able to do it in person, which is amazing, allot yourself at least 2 to 3 hours to do that. So that's what our welcome tongue twister. That's what our welcome meetings entail. Okay, let's dive. Okay, so of course we do know that sometimes there are a lot of different. Okay, let's dive a little bit deeper into what we do for our welcome. There are a lot of different documents and a lot of different places or systems that we use to be able to service one client, right? So because we are talking about client onboarding, I want to talk a little bit more about what we actually share with the client. So there's a folder that we create. We talked about the budget a little bit, or we'll go into that in a little bit more into details, but we share the budget with them. So again, they at least can make comments on it, but we don't give them access to be able to edit the budget. Again, we'll talk about budget a little bit later and the reasons why behind that. We also give them access to templates that we use for speaker intake, for sponsor intake. If we have exhibitors, also same thing with that. And then what we have for speakers. Inside of that folder, we also have other documents and helpful things like a draft run of show that they can that we can collaborate on, and for them to be able to utilize and give their input there, and several other documents. But we'll show you that a little bit more. All right, so the marathon meeting. The marathon meeting typically takes place anywhere from, I say, 4 to 6 weeks out before the actual event day. The marathon meeting, the same as the welcome meeting, I like to do it at the venue. I probably spend more time in the venue than anybody else. But I also invite my vendor partners. We'll talk about that at another time as well. But during that marathon meeting, what we do is I like for the client to be present, and we flush through that full vision of what we have planned, what we have talked about, any revisions that have been made. And at that time as well is a good time that you will know exactly what your vendor partners' needs are as well. So it's kind of like collectively coming together, talking everything through so that you are executing and producing exactly what it is that your clients need on site. So the marathon meeting, mandatory. So make sure that you do that if you have not already done that. And again, this is the meeting that you have with your clients, not just your final walkthroughs that you're having with your vendor partners. All right, so our closeout meeting, well, what some call the post-event meeting, I typically do that meeting with the client anywhere from 2 to hopefully within 30 days, so 4 weeks out from the actual event ending is when we like to do that post meeting. The reason that we usually wait that long is because we've gathered all of the final vendor bills and able to update the budget correctly. We're able to add any reimbursement items that we may have as an event production team that we had to buy on site, or day of, or whatever the matter may be. Those things are able to go inside of the budget. We typically have already received all of the event feedback from the surveys that the clients have sent out, and just closing out everything. Right, we've paid out all of the vendors that had outstanding events. We're able to review those things, close out with the hotels, close outs with the venue. All of that good stuff has been done within that 2 to 4 week process. So now we're able to share all of those items with the client to be able to do, quote unquote, the official closeout. It also gives you a chance to talk about if their KPIs have been met, right? If it was a success in their eyes, and also talk about signing a contract for next year if it's going to be an annual event, or talk about some different referrals or getting your testimonials and things of that nature. So it's just that time during that meeting to really close out that particular event with your clients, and also prepare or see if they're interested, or if you are interested in moving forward with doing their event for the next year if it is an annual event. So that's what the closeout is all about.